So I think you're getting at how desperate these Republicans are to not have the 2020 election. They're losing. Trump is already behind double digits to Biden, and Biden's not even the official Democratic candidate. It's just the public is saying anybody but Trump, by double-digit margin. And Trump is, you can tell, has already got the scheme on to try and not have the election by sending in the secret police aspect and trying to stir up more violence so that he can run his political campaign ads that say, and some are already out now in the news media, his ads already are saying pictures of the riots. And then they're blaming it all on Biden. And the trouble is, all those images of those riots, that's what Trump started. That's all the issues that Trump created and developed. That's Trump's America right there. Once again, the flip. Republicans are saying, there's a deep state of, and the truth is, Republicans are the deep state. Republicans are saying, there's this pedophile ring, and And again, Jeffrey Epstein, Maxwell, Trump, Nadler. It's all Republicans. Now, it gets worse because it's all the things put together that is Republican agenda that is desperate not to lose this 2020 election or not have the 2020 election and just make up an excuse like martial law and then just take over. Because it isn't just the big money is the corporations. The corporations who are poisoning and polluting you and destroying this planet and causing things like climate change and COVID-19. And they don't want to stop because they're making billions. And they know if Republicans are thrown out and Democrats and progressives take control of the House and Senate and the presidency, ooh baby, then all these environmental laws and restrictions are going to come in that's going to crush hard on those corporations and cost them a lot of money. Maybe a lot of them actually start being phased out of business altogether. And that's desperate. And it ain't just the corporations. It's the right-wing Christian nuts with their agenda of trying to stay in power so they can force all their little ignorant morality, repression on all of us by saying, women are secondary status. No, women can't have free and equal rights. Oh, no. And, no, equal rights to gays. Oh, no, and you can't. That's the Republican agenda. On that, too. And you got the Republican nuts that are all the Nazis and the Ku Klux Klan and the white supremacists, and they're the Republican agenda, too. The white extremist nutcases who want to keep white domination throughout society, white privilege, That's all the Republican Party. All across that spectrum, every one of those are desperate to not lose because when the big change comes, every one of those are seeing their little house of cards collapse. And justifiably. We don't need any right-wing nut white supremacists in our government anywhere. Because our government is saying equal rights. So, having a person like Trump who's a racist and saying he's, actually working to stop equal rights and whatnot, that isn't just a political act, folks. That's a criminal enterprise against your rights. Well, that's the Republican Party. The same with the Christian nuts and trying to force their little morality into legislation to make it their little warped view world, deny science and reality. And, of course, the big one, the money, the big corporate money. don't want to make environmental changes, don't want to have to pay more taxes, which you know you're going to do. When you throw every Republican out, you're also going to tax the hell out of the rich, finally, as you should. And so all of that piled together is, the desperation of the Republican Party, seeing that they are losing. Right now, they're losing. And so they're busy trying to go ahead and try and destroy, break up, somehow negate the 2020 election. And it's happening. The stakes are that desperate. We are at that crucial of a point in American history. You're at civil war. You're at the edge of civil war. Because if the Republicans somehow wiggle and diggle and somehow not allow the election, riots, civil war. If the Republicans finagle the election and you find out that they've been intimidating and false counting the ballots and all sorts of Republican tricks like they usually try and do, civil war, riots. If for some reason anything happens to intimidate the election, right now Republicans are buying up ex-military personnel, right-wing military nuts, and ex-police officers, right-wing nuts, and they want them to show up at the polling places to intimidate voters. They already got the money started ahead. They've already got thousands of people listed up. If they start doing that, what do you think's going to happen on election day? Riots. Civil war. They're trying hard to stop you from having the ability to just mail in a ballot. And so Trump, jumping ahead, fired the guy who was the head of the post office and put in his right-wing nut, criminal cohort, as head of the post office. And everywhere Trump does that, you should be paying attention. Yes, there he is, trying to use his position as having a guy at the head of the post office to screw up, block, lose ballots, all sorts of stuff, to not have an accurate, valid election. Now, I'll throw in on top of this, folks, the Russians. The Russians months ago have already, said they are pushing to elect Republicans again. So that again is another layer of showing you how corrupt, how dangerous, how dictatorial is everything and everyone Republican. You're on the edge of civil war here. And on top of it, you got COVID-19, a pandemic. And on top of it, you got the riots justifiably going on, the saying, hey, where is the police reform? We've shown you over and over and over again that the police across this country are racistly profiling and intentionally being excessively violent to African American citizens, to Hispanic American citizens, Latino American citizens in particular. And nothing's happened. No legislation really has come down the tube anywhere to change and reform the police. And see, that's another huge election thing coming up, right? Issue. Well, it's going to be a real fight to have an election at all. You better be aware of it. You better have your registration solidly done, registered to vote by mail, already in, sent in, ready to go. And see if not if, but how Republicans try and screw up, stop this 2020 election. Careful. It's the edge of civil war, and the money is high. The agenda is Republican agenda is way under threat across the board. And on top of it, right now, Republicans are losing. Desperation has set in.